I never thought my marriage would fall apart because of a single photograph, one I wasn't even supposed to see. But I guess every disaster begins with something small, a detail, a tiny thread you pull without thinking, only to watch your entire world unravel. My name is Nathan, I'm 34, and until recently, I believed I had the kind of marriage people envied. My wife, Emily, and I had been together for 9 years, married for 6. We weren't perfect, nobody is, but we understood each other, or at least I thought we did. She always said I was her safe place, the calm and stability in her chaotic world. So, when she told me she wanted to take a short vacation with her girlfriends, a mental reset, as she called it, I didn't question it. She works as a pediatric nurse, and the last year had been brutal. Overtime shifts, emotional burnout, constant stress. The idea of her spending 4 days at a lake cabin with her friends didn't sound suspicious at all. In fact, I encouraged it. I even helped her pack. She left on a Thursday morning, kissed me goodbye, told me she loved me, promised to send updates when she could. I watched her drive away, sipping my coffee, feeling genuinely happy she'd get some rest. I didn't know then that everything she told me was a lie. The first strange thing happened the next day. Emily didn't text much. Again, not weird. Whenever she spent time with her friends, she'd put her phone away and be present. But late in the afternoon, I got a single message. "We're going kayaking. No service here, LOL. Love you." Something about it felt off. Not the words, the tone, short, distant, like I was texting a coworker and not my wife. But I brushed it off. That night, I couldn't sleep, so I did what any bored husband does. Scrolled through Reddit, watched dumb videos, and eventually checked local news on Facebook. That's when I saw it, the first loose thread. A post from a lifestyle travel page I follow had uploaded a batch of photos from a nearby national park. It wasn't far from where Emily claimed to be staying. Normally, I would have scrolled past without thinking, but then I saw it, a group photo, just a random candid shot of people sitting on the patio of a lakeside lodge restaurant. No big deal, except one of the women looked exactly like my wife. Same hair, same posture, same denim jacket she took with her. I zoomed in. My stomach tightened. It was Emily, but she wasn't with her girlfriends. She was sitting next to a man I'd never seen before. And not just sitting. She was leaning into him, their shoulders touching. Her hand was on his knee, and he was smiling at her like someone who had every right to. My brain tried to reject it immediately. Maybe it's not her. Maybe it's just someone who looks like her. Maybe it's an old picture. Maybe... But then I saw the timestamp. Uploaded 7 minutes ago. My hands started shaking. I clicked the page's profile. They often tag locations. And sure enough, the restaurant was tagged. I opened Google Maps. The lodge was nearly 3 hours away from where she claimed to be, in the opposite direction. I checked the comments. Someone mentioned they were hosting a romantic cabin giveaway weekend. Couples only. Couples. My throat felt dry. I stared at the picture again, hoping I was imagining everything, but the longer I looked, the clearer it became. My wife wasn't on a girls' trip. She was away with him. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I decided not to confront her. Not yet. I needed proof. Actual, undeniable proof. If I confronted her and she lied, or gaslit me, or twisted the story, I'd lose my mind. I needed facts, evidence, something that would keep me grounded if she tried to paint me as paranoid. So, I started digging, and that's when things got even worse. I started with the lodge's official website. If they were hosting a couples event, it would be listed somewhere, and it was. Front page, bright banner, romantic retreat weekend, 3 nights, 4 days, couples-only cabins, wine tastings, sunset boat tours. The dates matched Emily's girls' trip. My heart pounded so hard I could feel it in my throat. I clicked through the photos on their site. Cabins, dining areas, activities. Everything seemed painfully normal, until I reached the last gallery. A photographer had uploaded a set of candid pictures of guests from the previous day. Just casual snapshots meant to promote the place. And there she was again. Emily. Only this time, there was zero doubt. She was standing by the lakeside railing, holding a wine glass. The man from the earlier photo, tall, dark hair, athletic, had his arm around her waist. She was laughing. Not just smiling, laughing in that way she used to laugh with me years ago, when everything felt exciting and new. I stared at the photo for so long, my laptop screen dimmed from inactivity. There was no way to deny it now. Still, I wasn't angry, not at first. I was numb, like someone had unplugged me from myself, and I was watching my own life from the outside. Then something in me snapped back online. I needed to know who he was. I reverse searched the first photo. No results. Then I zoomed in on the man's face, screenshot it, and cropped it tightly. Still nothing. But in one of the lodge photos, buried deep in the gallery, I spotted something useful. The man was wearing a staff lanyard with a name tag. Barely readable, but visible enough if I enlarged it. Chris. Just Chris. No last name, no title. But right beneath the name was the lodge's small logo. So he worked there, a staff member. My hands were trembling again, a mix of fear and adrenaline. The puzzle pieces were sliding together faster than I could process them. My wife had gone to a couples retreat with a lodge employee, someone she must have met before the trip. When? How? Then I remembered something. 3 weeks earlier, Emily had gone on a mandatory work seminar at, my heart dropped, at this exact national park lodge. She was there for 2 nights. She had told me it was boring, that she barely left the conference room. She said the staff were old and grumpy. She joked that the food tasted like it was cooked by a blind person. But apparently something else happened, something big, because 3 weeks later, she was back. With him. By lunchtime, I felt sick. I couldn't eat, couldn't think straight. I kept scrolling through the lodge's tagged photos, reading comments, clicking profiles of people who posted stories from the retreat. Then I found something that made everything worse. A short Instagram reel posted by one of the visiting couples, just 6 seconds long, a panoramic shot of the sunset boat tour. But at the 3-second mark, the camera panned past a couple sitting near the front of the boat. I paused the video. My chest tightened like someone grabbed it from inside. It was Emily. She was leaning on Chris's shoulder. His head was resting against hers. Their hands were intertwined. I felt something in my chest break in a way I didn't know was physically possible. I replayed the clip, and that's when I noticed one more detail. Emily wasn't wearing her wedding ring. That night, she texted me again. Going to bed early, long day. Love you. I stared at the message for a full minute, my hands cold and shaky. I didn't reply. I spent the 3rd day planning. Should I confront her? Should I drive to the lodge? Should I pretend everything was normal until she got back? Should I call her best friend to ask if she was actually with her? A darker thought came next. What if her friends were covering for her? I didn't want to believe that, but at this point, I couldn't trust anything or anyone connected to her. Then, as if fate wanted to torment me further, something happened that forced my hand. At 11:23 p.m., my phone buzzed. A notification from the same local travel page. New post. Another photo batch from the lodge. And in one of the images, Emily and Chris were kissing. Not a peck. Not a drunken, sloppy kiss between strangers. A deep, intimate kiss. Her hands were on his face. His fingers were tangled in her hair. It looked like they were alone on a walking trail, surrounded by trees. No one else in sight. Just them. Just the 2 people who had destroyed my entire life without even knowing it. I felt heat rising in my chest, spreading through my body. Anger, finally, anger. Not yelling anger, not explosive anger. Quiet, sharp, surgical anger. The kind that changes people. She was still lying to me, still telling me she loved me, still pretending everything was fine. I wasn't going to wait until she came home so she could feed me more lies. No. I was done waiting. I closed my laptop, grabbed my keys, and made a decision that would change everything. I was driving to that lodge. I drove through the night, 3 hours of empty highways, thick forests, and the kind of silence that twists every thought into something darker. I didn't blast music, didn't call anyone, didn't rehearse what I'd say. I just drove, gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles went white. Every few minutes, the image of Emily kissing that man flashed through my mind, her hands on his face, her smile, her missing wedding ring. By the time I pulled into the lodge's gravel parking lot, the sun was just starting to rise. A pale blue glow stretched across the lake, painting everything in soft colors. It would have been beautiful if my life weren't falling apart. The place was quiet, not silent, just peacefully asleep. Cabins lined the forest edge. The main lodge building sat right in the center, with a wooden walkway leading toward the restaurant patio, and the trail where she had kissed him. I sat in my car for 5 full minutes, trying to steady my breathing. Then my phone buzzed. A message from Emily. "Good morning, babe. We're making breakfast. I'll text you later." I stared at the screen, and a bitter, humorless laugh escaped me. Later, huh? Sure. After she finished eating with her girlfriends, I finally stepped out of the car. Inside the lodge lobby, a young woman at the front desk looked up and smiled. "Good morning. Are you checking in?" "No," I said quietly. "I'm looking for someone." Her smile softened into curiosity. "Who are you trying to find?" I didn't want to cause a scene, not yet, so I played dumb. "My wife, Emily. She's staying here for a few days." The receptionist tapped her keyboard. "Last name?" I told her. A few seconds passed, then her expression changed, subtle but noticeable. "Oh, yes, she's in cabin 12 with—" She stopped. Her eyes flickered with discomfort. "With who?" I asked, my voice low. I'm not sure I'm allowed to share that information." I leaned forward slightly, not threateningly, but firmly. "I know she's not here with her friends." The receptionist swallowed. She hesitated for a long moment before lowering her voice. "She's staying in a couple's cabin. Those cabins require 2 registered guests. One of them is a staff member." My jaw clenched. "His name is Chris?" I asked. She exhaled, defeated. "Yes." There it was, the truth spoken aloud. Sound, real, heavy. My chest tightened painfully. The receptionist looked genuinely sorry. "Sir, if it means anything, they didn't check in together. She arrived first yesterday morning. He came a few hours later." It didn't make anything better, but it did confirm one thing. This wasn't some accidental misunderstanding. This wasn't some last-minute invitation by friends. Emily had planned this. She had come here knowing he would join her. The receptionist hesitated again. "Do you want me to call someone? A manager? Security?" "No," I said. My voice was calm, too calm. "I'll find her." I turned and walked toward the cabins. Cabin 12 was at the far end of the property, tucked between tall pines with a front porch overlooking the lake. A picture-perfect romantic hideaway. I approached slowly. Every step felt heavier than the last. As I got closer, I heard voices. Muffled at first, then clearer. Emily's voice, laughing. I froze. She had never sounded that happy around me in months, maybe years. I took one step up the porch. The wooden plank creaked. Inside, the voices stopped. I knocked on the door. Silence, then footsteps. The door opened, and there she was. Emily, wearing a loose sweater I'd never seen before, her hair messy in a way that looked intimate. She wasn't wearing her ring. Her face went pale. "Nathan?" For a moment, we just stared at each other, her eyes wide, my heart breaking over and over again. She opened her mouth, struggling for words. What are you doing here?" I let out a long breath, steady but heavy. "I think you already know why I'm here." Before she could respond, another voice came from inside the cabin. A man's voice. Who is it?" Her eyes flickered in panic. She turned halfway like she wanted to hide him. But it was too late. Chris stepped into view behind her, shirtless, towel around his neck, hair wet from a shower. And the moment he saw me, he froze too. No one spoke. The whole world felt quiet and sharp. Finally, Emily whispered, "Nathan, please, this isn't—" "Don't," I said softly, not angry, just exhausted. "Don't lie to me anymore." She flinched, her eyes filled with tears instantly. Chris looked between us, uncomfortable. "Maybe I should stay where you are," I said. He did. I looked at Emily again. "Why?" Just one word. One simple word that carried 9 years of love, trust, and betrayal. She covered her mouth with her hand. "I'm so sorry." "Why?" I repeated. She started shaking her head, crying harder. I didn't plan for this to happen. I pointed behind her. You booked a couple's cabin. She winced. You took off your ring. She broke completely. Nathan, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I took a step back. It felt like someone had cut the last string inside me. This marriage is over, I said quietly. Emily gasped like I'd stabbed her. No, Nathan, please. But I was already turning away. I heard her footsteps behind me, but she stopped at the porch edge like there was an invisible barrier holding her back. Nathan, she cried out. I didn't stop walking. I couldn't. If I turned around, I would shatter. I made it to my car before breaking down. Not dramatically, not screaming, just quietly, devastatingly. I gripped the steering wheel and let the weight of everything crash over me. My wife had lied, cheated, planned an entire romantic getaway with another man, and now I had to figure out what came next. But the story wasn't over yet, not even close, because 3 days later, Emily showed up at our house with a confession that changed everything and made the situation 10 times worse. For 3 days after I left the lodge, I didn't hear a word from Emily. No calls, no texts, no, I'm coming home, nothing. It was as if she stayed there with him. Maybe she did, maybe she didn't. Honestly, I didn't care anymore. I slept on the couch, barely ate, went to work and came home like a ghost drifting through the motions of someone else's life. Then, on the third evening, just after sunset, I heard a soft knock on the door. I already knew it was her. I didn't move at first, didn't want to open it, didn't want to see her face again. But after a second round of knocking, this time quieter, I stood up and walked to the door. I opened it. Emily looked destroyed, not just sad, broken, eyes red from crying, hair unwashed, clothes wrinkled like she'd slept in them. Her suitcase sat on the porch behind her. She clutched her ring in her hand. Nathan, please, she whispered, her voice trembling. Can we talk? I stared at her for a long moment. Then I stepped aside, letting her in. She sat on the far end of the couch, like she didn't want to get too close. I stayed near the kitchen counter, arms crossed. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Finally, I broke the silence. Say whatever you came to say. She swallowed hard, wiped her eyes, and nodded. Everything you saw, it's true. I won't lie to you anymore. That was the first time she had admitted it, the first moment of real honesty. But then she continued, there's more. And I have to tell you everything, even if you never speak to me again. I stayed silent. She took a deep breath and started. It didn't begin on the trip, she said. It started at the work seminar 3 weeks ago, the one at the lodge. I tightened my jaw. I already suspected that. She continued, voice trembling. I felt lonely. Not just recently, for a long time. I didn't feel seen. I didn't feel wanted. I tried to ignore it, but Chris, he noticed me. He flirted. He made me feel... She broke off, shaking her head. I know that's no excuse. I'm not trying to justify it. But that's how it started. It was just talking at first. Then we went on the group hike. Then we had drinks with other colleagues. And I should have stopped it. I should have shut it down. She wiped her eyes again. But I didn't. I felt something heavy in my chest, but I didn't respond. I swear to you, she said, I didn't sleep with him during that seminar, but we did kiss. There it was, the confirmation I had been bracing for. She continued, when I came home after the seminar, everything felt different. I felt guilty, sick. I wanted to tell you, but I was terrified. She looked at me again, eyes filled with shame. And then he messaged me. He said he wanted to see me again. I told him no at first. But then my friends planned the girls' trip. And she broke down completely. I invited him. I planned it. I lied to you. I lied to everyone. I felt like the air in the room thickened. So, you went on a couple's retreat with him, I said, my voice quiet and cold. She nodded. Yes. And you brought him into a couple's cabin. Yes. And you took off your ring. Her voice cracked. Yes. The room fell silent again. But then she said something that raised the hairs on my arms. There's something else, she whispered. And this is the part that scares me the most. I stared at her, not speaking. She took a shaky breath. Chris and I didn't break it off when I left the lodge. I froze. What do you mean? She looked down at her hands. He wants to keep seeing me. Something ugly twisted in my stomach. And what do you want? I asked sharply. She looked up, and the fear in her eyes told me everything. That's the problem, she whispered. I told him no, and he didn't take it well. What do you mean he didn't take it well? My blood ran cold. Emily's hands shook. He's been calling me, from different numbers, messaging me from new accounts every few hours, saying he won't let me go, saying he'll come here to talk. My heart rate picked up. Emily, I said slowly, are you telling me he's stalking you? She nodded quickly, breathing faster. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to tell. I was scared to come home, not because of you, but because I think he's unstable, Nathan. I stared at her in disbelief. And there's more, she whispered. What else? She swallowed hard. When I was packing to leave the cabin, she hesitated. He said something that terrified me. My pulse hammered in my ears. What did he say? She looked me directly in the eyes. He said if he couldn't have me, no one could. My stomach dropped. Emily burst into tears. I'm so sorry, Nathan. I ruined everything. And now I think I put both of us in danger. I stood completely still. Shock, fear, anger, confusion. All of it tangled into one heavy knot. This wasn't just a cheating story anymore. It had become something much darker, and the worst part? Emily wasn't wrong, because that same night, just 2 hours after she returned, we heard footsteps outside the house, slow, deliberate, circling. And when I checked the camera at the front door, my blood froze. It was Chris, standing on our lawn, staring directly into the camera. I stared at the camera feed, barely able to breathe. There he was, Chris, standing completely still in the pool of light from the porch lamp, hands in his pockets, head slightly tilted upward, as if he wanted the camera to see him clearly. Emily covered her mouth with both hands. Oh my God, she whispered. He's here. Nathan, he's really here. For a few seconds, we just froze, listening to the creaking sounds outside as he shifted his weight. Then he moved, not toward the door, not toward the street, but toward the side of the house. I snapped into motion. I grabbed my phone, unlocked it with shaking fingers, and dialed 911. As it rang, I whispered sharply, Emily, go to the bedroom, lock the door. She shook her head. I'm not leaving you. Emily, go. She finally obeyed, running down the hall, her suitcase still on the floor where she'd dropped it. I kept the camera feed open as I pressed my back against the wall near the front door. The dispatcher picked up. 911, what's your emergency? There's a man outside my house, I said, keeping my voice low. He's been stalking my wife. He's here right now. Is he armed? I don't know. I can't see his hands right now. Are you inside a locked room? No, Before I could finish, there was a loud, sharp sound from outside, metal scraping against metal. I ran to the living room window and peeked through the curtain. He was trying the side gate, pulling it, jostling it, testing it. If that gate hadn't been locked, he would have been in the backyard already. Officers are on the way, the dispatcher said. Stay inside. Stay quiet. Do not confront him. I swallowed hard. Okay. The gate rattling stopped. Then heavy footsteps moved along the house's exterior wall, toward the back. I switched to the rear camera. My blood pressure spiked. He was at our sliding glass door, 2 inches of glass separating him from our living room. He pressed his face against the glass, fogging it with slow breaths. His eyes scanned the room, then the hallway, then the bedrooms, looking for her. Nathan, Emily's voice whispered from behind me. I turned. She had cracked the bedroom door open just an inch. Is he? Yes, I whispered. Don't come out. She closed the door again, the lock clicking instantly. I turned back to the camera. Chris lifted his hand and pressed his palm against the glass. Then he spoke. Even through the sealed door, I could faintly hear the sound. Emily, the hair on my arm stood up. He wasn't shouting. He wasn't banging. He was whispering, soft, almost affectionate. Come talk to me." I stepped away from the door, heart pounding so loud it filled my ears. The dispatcher's voice came through the phone. "Sir, are you safe?" "He's at my back door," I whispered. "Officers are 3 minutes out. Stay hidden." 3 minutes. 3 minutes suddenly felt like a lifetime. Then, another sound. The doorknob on the back door twitched. Once, twice, then harder. He was trying to open it. Even though it was locked, the sound alone sent fear shooting through my spine. He jiggled it again. Harder. Then he exhaled, the fog on the glass growing. "Nathan," he finally said. My blood froze. He knew I was there. He leaned in closer. "You should let her go." I stayed absolutely silent. "You don't deserve her," he whispered. "You're in the way." My grip tightened on the phone. He moved again, pacing along the back deck, muttering to himself. His voice grew sharper, more frantic, like he was unraveling by the second. Then suddenly, in one violent motion, he slammed his fist into the glass. Emily screamed from the bedroom. The glass didn't break, but it vibrated hard enough to terrify me. He slammed it again. And again. "Nathan, police are arriving now," the dispatcher said. "Stay inside." Red and blue lights flashed through the front windows. The moment Chris saw them, he spun around and bolted across the yard, disappearing behind the trees. I ran to the front door and threw it open as 2 officers sprinted toward the house. "He's behind the property," I shouted. "He just ran!" They split off in opposite directions, radios crackling. Within seconds, 3 more squad cars arrived. Emily emerged from the hallway, trembling. She rushed toward me, burying her face in my chest. For the first time since this nightmare began, I held her. We were both shaking. 10 minutes later, an officer returned. "We tracked him into the woods. He's gone for now, but we're issuing a protective order immediately. He stepped onto your private property. That's enough to move fast." Emily sank onto the couch, covering her face. "Is he coming back?" she whispered. The officer sighed. "We don't know, but we'll patrol the area tonight." They took statements, recorded everything, logged the video from our cameras. By the time the officers left, it was nearly 4 a.m. Emily and I sat in the quiet, both exhausted and hollow. After a long moment, she finally spoke. "Nathan, I'm so sorry. I didn't know he would turn into this. I didn't know he was dangerous." I looked at her. Really looked at her. Broken, ashamed, terrified. And yet, despite everything, the lies, the cheating, the betrayal, I felt something unexpected. I didn't want her to get hurt, not even after what she did. "I don't forgive you," I said honestly. "But I'm not leaving you alone with this." She nodded slowly, tears sliding down her cheeks. "I don't expect forgiveness," she whispered, "but thank you for not letting him ruin everything." I exhaled. "I'm filing for divorce, Emily. But until this situation is handled, you stay here, where it's safe." She nodded again, trembling. "And after that?" I swallowed. "After that, we go our separate ways." She wiped her eyes, soft, silent. Then she said something I never expected. "I deserve that, but thank you for protecting me from the man I threw everything away for.